Hey guys, welcome back to Assisted Living Investing. Welcome to part 3 of the tutorial on the calculator. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would, but hopefully it's valuable to you. Hopefully you're finding information and learning a little bit about how to use the calculator, how to look at some of these different metrics, how to look at different numbers, and hopefully this is valuable to you. Make sure you like the videos, ring that bell so that I can get you more information, more content. Comment down below so I know what content is helpful to you and what I can do to help you on your journey in assisted living investing. We're going to jump into the video this time, and we'll go through the other tabs on that calculator on the sheet. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll get that ready for you. Let me move around a few things. So last time we talked about the past financials, and we talked about the expenses and how those work. So this time we're going to get into the projected financials on the calculator and how this part works. So you can see here I've got a few different colors on here. Typically red means you're not going to make any adjustments on it, and green means that you are able to kind of start making adjustments on there. But you also want to make sure that you're just being aware. Some of these are going to have formulas in them, and the way that you can see if it has a formula is up here in this function bar right there. You can see that one says it's referencing different cells, whereas this one right here that says 100% is not, and so it's a whole number. So that's kind of just another quick tip on how to use a spreadsheet. Some of those are going to be functions, so just make sure that you're not overriding them, or if you're overriding them, that you are aware that you're overriding a function and where it might have been referenced. Quick thing on how to, like, if you went in and you accidentally typed 50% on this one formula there, you can click this back button, undo, or you can use the short key there, which is the control button plus the Z button, Z as in zebra. If you do that, then it will undo the thing that you just did, so you don't have to remember what the formula was. Just a quick, hopefully handy tip there for you working in Excel here or working in Google Sheets. So I'm going to walk through these things really quick. I tried to make them as self-explanatory as possible, and have kind of outlined them with bolder lines in different areas so that you can kind of see which sections they are and get a feel for how they work. But this is money that is going directly to the seller. So this is the lender amount. This is the amount of money that the lender is putting into it. This is the amount of money that you as the borrower are putting into the deal. So this is cash going to the seller, the origination fee for an SBA loan or something like that. This is any extra working capital that you need in the loan. This is the SBA guarantee fee. Sometimes you got to pay those fees. There are all kinds of fees when you're working with lenders. This is title and closing costs, and then this would be the total amount that's going to the seller at closing. This is the amount that's going to them from the lender. This is the amount that's going to them from you. Again, these are just numbers. I think this was an example of one I was looking at in Utah, but I've also kind of mixed some numbers in here together. So this is not like a legit 100% deal that you're looking at here. It's just examples, but you can fill those in. This initial home value is actually not going to be the purchase price of the facility. This is like what it appraised for. This is going to help you on things like taxes, and also looking at the amount of equity that you have in the house and things like that. So the initial home value is not going to be the same as the purchase price in every case. It could be, but it is not. It does not have to be the same there. These are appreciation rates. So like the appreciation rate of the real estate, what that's going to look like. This is a vacancy rate for the facility, operating expense increase. So you're just, the way that economics work, you're going to have some appreciation. You're going to have in everything. So you're going to probably have to spend more on food. You're going to have higher payroll, those types of things. So we want to take that into account as we're projecting these things out into the yearly pro forma tab, which we'll get into next, to see, your expenses are not going to stay static. They're going to fluctuate, but they are generally going to increase. So we want to account for that. This is the buyer injection. So this is how much money you're going to put into it. Generally, this is, let's see, I've got this pulling in from down here below. But these numbers are actually going to feed over here what that down payment is like. And so if you need to get this down payment to 15%, 20%, whatever that down payment needs to be, 30%, you're going to adjust these numbers right here to get that down payment amount over here. And then that information is going to populate up here to tell you exactly how much money you're putting into the deal. So from here, this is where the actual purchase price is going to go. This is any seller injection. So if the seller is doing, if there's any seller financing, so that's where the seller says, yeah, I want to sell this to you. I'm willing to kick in $100,000 of money, so you don't have to give that all to the bank. Some sellers do this, some don't want to do it. So it just kind of depends on who the seller is. But if you are able to get seller financing, this is where you're going to be able to track that in there. From there, we have, this is the GP injection. You'll remember we went over some different definitions. So the GP is the general partner. This is how much the general partnership, the joint venture, the sole proprietorship, this is how much money that group or individual is going to be putting into the deal. And then from here, you've got the LP purchase injection, the limited partners. So these are the people that are really just the money partners and what they're going to be putting into the deal. So I have a way to kind of track those things and play around with that so you can see what that down payment is going to look like, how much money you're going to have to bring to the table, and then how much money is going to the seller from the lender as well. So you can kind of get that information in there. If you're going to end up having a renovation, you can list that in here. This is also another one that you want to do. And I always try to build in, now that I've purchased a couple of these, a contingency for operating capital. And you can build that into, you can see right here, that's built into the loan from the lender. So that money is not actually going to go, that money is going to be separate. It's not going to necessarily go over to the seller. That money is going to actually come into your bank account, but it's going to be on your loan. So this was my way of kind of factoring that in for what that loan amount is going to be. So it just kind of gives you an idea. But having about 2 months worth of operating expenses is something that's going to be very helpful. You certainly want to have at least 1 month. This is all built off of these expenses in the expense tab. And then it's looking at these monthly amounts. And then it's taking the sum of that, that total, and multiplying it by 2 in this case. So if you wanted to adjust that and have it be more than 2 months, you would just click in that cell and change that to 3 or 1.5 or whatever number you want that to be. But building in a contingency, unless you have funds available for it, is going to be key and going to help you be able to function in your facility and move forward with it. And then this is going to be any holding costs. So if this is an opportunity where you are going to be purchasing something and you've got to do a big renovation on it or something like that, you're going to have to hold it. What is that going to look like? Do you need a bridge loan or whatever that's going to look like? This is where I'm tracking those holding costs. Let's see, we'll get down here into hard money. So these are different ways of kind of funding things. So typically, I'm looking at using a traditional lender where I've got a mortgage, essentially a mortgage payment, but you may choose to go the route of using a hard money lender. And so I'm building this in so that you can put in any hard money that's coming in. So a hard money lender is like a private person or group. Sometimes even banks will do hard money, but it's just a group, and they have a lot of the same types of criteria that they need for borrowing, but they're able to collateralize different things on the deal to help you get the money that you need. Or if you have bad credit, hard money lenders are also a possibility to look at to get funding on a purchase. They want to be in first position on anything, so you likely aren't going to be able to use hard money and a traditional lender. In very few instances will you be able to find a traditional lender that is okay not being in first position. And most times hard money lenders also want to be in first position on a mortgage. So using the two of them is going to be somewhat difficult, though not impossible. It's just going to take a lot of conversations and working with different people to get it there. Your rental income increase rate. So we talked up here about operating expenses going up. Your rental income is also likely going to go up. It's it will also just kind of increase over time. The state will adjust rates for Medicaid to make it a more marketable rate and things like that. So those rates will also go up. They're not always going to be the exact same, but generally they're going to be hopefully about the same amount of increases as your expenses are. Those expenses will also be passed along to your residents. This is the average shareholder equity. So I'm going to jump right here to the GP count. So this would, if you're doing a joint venture, there's 2 or 3 of you, you would put this number in there. So if I put 3 in there, for example, it's going to adjust this one down to the GP average shareholder equity down to 33%. At 2, it's going to be at 100%. So it gets that there. If you've got limited partners in here, it's going to look at that GP factor. So in this case, it's 100%. This is a joint venture, so that's what it's set at. But let's say you're going to end up doing a syndication, and 30% of that money is going here. So now that's going to adjust it. You've got 2 general partners. They're going to get 30% of the cash flow on the deal, and that's divided amongst them. So each essentially are going to get 15%, and then the LPs are going to get the remaining 70%. And then there's an LP breakdown tab over here that's going to kind of help identify exactly how much money is going into them. For purposes here, we're just going to keep this at 100% with 2 partners. It's just a joint venture. That's how you're going to set this up. But if you wanted to get into the part where you're bringing in limited partners and things like that, you can mess around with some of those numbers and see what types of returns are going to come into effect there. If you have the effective tax rate, you can add that in here. Depreciation rate for how the property is going to depreciate, the real estate, also the depreciation period. So typically real estate is going to depreciate at 27.5 years. It might go faster depending on if you use different strategies like a cost segregation or different things like that. You might be able to adjust some of those things. So talk to your accountant on that would be my advice, to make sure you're understanding how you're going to depreciate things and at what rate things will be depreciated at. But it's built into the calculator so that you can look at that. And then this would be closing costs, sell rate. So this also, the calculator, when we get into the yearly pro forma, is going to give you an overview of what it might look like if you're looking to sell it in year 5, year 10, or whatever, where you're going to have to pay closing costs. And so I've built in a factor there to see what the closing costs sell rate would be when you go and sell. Below that, we've got and these ones are things that you don't need to make adjustments on. These are all going to be formulas down here. So this is your monthly rental rate. So this one is based off of a number over here. So this is resident information. And really these cells right here are populating over on the yearly pro forma tab right there. So that's kind of what they're doing. It gives you an idea of what that down payment is, the total injection you're doing, anticipated down payment amount, your anticipated closing costs, and just kind of does a breakdown here. It's just really an overview. Lets you look at what the occupancy is, months occupied, and things like that. Over here, we've got a mortgage calculator. So on the back end, I've got mortgage info, this tab, and then this tab is then populating like what that monthly payment is actually going to look like. So you can get your own interest rate, your own term, so how long it's going to be, how many payments you're going to make in a year, if it's 12, if it's 24, however you want to work that out. And then that's going to adjust these numbers right here and give you what your total loan amount is, and that should match this number right here. And then from there, you can figure out what your annual payment is going to be, and then from there, what that monthly mortgage rate is, essentially. And then you can, as we discussed earlier, see what your down payment percentage rate is going to be right there. So very, very handy. Down here, something similar. This one is for hard money, and this pulls from this hard money info, but the exact same type of number that goes into that. And it is actually fed by, if we were to put in $100,000 over here, for example, it's going to, should at least populate that information over here. Yeah, you can see. So it popped up loan amount 100,000 and monthly payment right there. And then if I hit Control Z, like I mentioned, it took that back down to 0 and it adjusts that. So that's how you can back out of those. So mortgage calculator, hard money calculator, those are kind of built in there. And then this is going to be the resident information. So this is where you're going to put in that inflation rate, so how much your rent is going to increase on an annual basis. This is your bed count. This would be resident count. So in my mind, I actually am quite conservative on how I do this. So I've got 55 beds. I'm saying that I've got a 10% vacancy, but I'm also factoring in like how many of those 55 beds I think are actually going to be occupied. So I've got 55 beds. I'm going to have 50 of them occupied. And then of those 50, I'm going to have a 10% vacancy rate. So I'm really kind of factoring in, when I do my numbers, like a 20% vacancy rate here. You can do whatever you want, but that's kind of how this is. This is where you put in, if you know, private pay daily rates, Medicaid daily rates, and if we don't really deal with Medicare in assisted living, but if you happen to have a Medicare resident that Medicare is paying for, I don't think they actually pay for assisted living, but they might for memory care, or if you're using this to do like skilled nursing or something different, where you're, a hospice or something where Medicare does pay, you're going to be able to enter that information in here. And then this is going to let you say the vacancy or the occupancy of those types of residents. So, I've got 50 beds here. They're all Medicaid. So it's going to take these 50 residents and multiply it by this daily rate. Whereas if I did, if I say that this is at 50% and this one's at 50%, it's going to take 50% of these 50 residents. So 25 of the residents get this rate. 25 of the residents get this rate. And that's kind of how that one's built. So you can adjust those things in there. And these ones, again, are things that you don't make adjustments to, but this is overall occupancy rate. And then you've got the vacancy rate here. I have those in there separately because I think I've got formulas bouncing off of both of them, and it's just easier. Then it just makes it a little more clear to do that. These are how many beds are in each of those. And so, if you noticed when I threw in here the 50 beds, it's going to adjust those numbers down there. So you can see what those look like. And then this is going to give you what that yearly rate is going to be for all those Medicaid beds and for all of those private pay beds, etc. And then this is going to give you the total of all those. So it's a sum of those three cells right there. And lets you look at those. And then this total average monthly bed rate is that total annual rate divided by 12. So, there's 12 months in a year. So that's how we get that one. And then this one is getting us the average monthly bed rate. So we're taking this average monthly rate and we're dividing it by the total resident count. So you could get monthly bed rates for your private pay or Medicaid by doing some different calculations. This is just like your average. This is taking everything into account. On average, your bed rate here is $2,500 a month. This is your total yearly bed count. So this one is looking at these 50 beds at 90% occupancy and multiplying that by 12, because that's how many months there are in a year. And then this average monthly bed cost is taking that total yearly bed count and just dividing it by 12, so we get a monthly count. And then this one is actually looking at it's looking at this total yearly bed count, and it's dividing it by how many beds there are. And so it's basically saying that 10.8 is saying that you're going to, over the course of a year, you're going to have an entire month, essentially, where your facility is completely vacant, but you're 100% vacant the other 11 months. It's just another way to look at it. It just kind of something that in my brain makes sense, but it might not for you. But for me, it does. And then this is the vacancy bed rate. So you can set this you could do this as a percentage, or you could say, I want to set aside $300 a month per bed to make sure that we're putting money away in the event that we have vacancies, just so that we have that in there. We went over a hard money calculator, and then this part of the calculator down here is just going through projected closing costs. So this all is going to end up filling up here the title and closing costs up there, and I've kind of got it broken down. A lot of this is kind of based off of purchase price and different things like that, but it's a breakout of what those closing costs are going to look like. So that is the bulk of the calculator. There's a lot. This is the brains of everything. I know I hopefully didn't get too deep. Hopefully I didn't lose you too much on this one. But yeah, there's a lot of information in there. It really just kind of puts everything together and hopefully gives you a good understanding of what it looks like and how it works. And from here, our next video, we're going to get into the yearly pro forma. We're going to finish out the tutorial. We're going to finish up what we've been doing so far. And hopefully all these videos combined are going to give you a really good understanding of exactly how the calculator works and how you can move forward with it and use it to analyze deals for yourself. So make sure that you like the video. Make sure you ring that bell so you get notified every time I put up a video, so you get new content. We're putting out videos 2 times a week. Also daily videos on TikTok, making sure you get some good quick tips there, and join the conversation on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. I love working with people and helping people better understand exactly what's going on. And so please just make sure you reach out, make sure you comment in the video. Let me know if this has been helpful for you, and hope to see you next time. We'll finish out the tutorial on the calculator. And yeah, I'm excited to hear from you and see where things go. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Talk to you later. See ya.